to 7. Great job, man. Great job. You're doing great. Catching up with the leader. Go, go, go.
Chilly Pacific Coast is but an hour to the west. Cool Cascade Peaks lie in every other direction. But in the middle of it all, at Portland International Raceway, today it's once again desert-like heat. Welcome to the Rose City for the Portland Grand Prix, round 6 of the American Le Mans Series on CBS Sports. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer, and today we begin the second half of the season. It's also the dog days of summer and the second race for these teams in only 7 days. Plus, all 4 of the classes in the American Le Mans Series feature some sort of intense rivalry. And Danny Sullivan, as the mercury in the thermometers is growing longer, fuses are getting shorter, and some of those rivalries really seem to be boiling over into outright feuds.
Well, in the P1 category, we have the might of the Audi and the R10. And these guys are being given fits by the independent team of Rob Dyson. Now, also in P2, we've got Porsche and Penske. These guys have proved that they've got the speed to win outright, yet with the unreliability, they are not even leading the points in their championship. In GT1, Corvette, Aston Martin, Michelin, Pirelli, these guys really don't like each other. In the and the teams to step up and get results. And the manufacturers, with all the resources they're putting into the series and the team, they expect results.
And you'd really expect nothing less in such a high-profile arena. Now, Brian Till, after qualifying, the tempest in this teapot must be at full whistle.
Well, Greg, the Audi camp definitely feeling that pressure. Even though they've won the first 5 Prototype 1 class races of the season, they have not come easy. They've gotten a lot of pressure from independent team Dyson Racing. And anytime you come to Portland, you know Dyson is going to be strong. For the last 2 years, Dyson cars have filled the front row in qualifying. We come back in 2006, hat trick, baby. It's Dyson Lolas 1 and 2 in qualifying. Some weight concessions given to those Lolas this weekend. Prototype 1 battle should be a great one. When you look at Prototype 2 class, it is definitely David versus Goliath. Clint Field and Liz Halliday lead that championship by virtue of 2 wins early on in the season. But Roger Penske and his Porsche RS Spyders have come on strong, chopped that championship lead to just a single marker coming in here to Portland. The question remains, can a small independent team from the Midwest steal a championship away from Roger Penske and one of the most powerful sports car manufacturers in the world?
It has been a soap opera in GT1. What was once a friendly competition has turned into an intense rivalry. A couple reasons why. Corvette, for 12 races, the leader was Corvette Yellow at the front of the GT1 field, but the last 2 weeks there was a new color in front, that of Aston Martin green. Tempers are also flying because there have been attempts to level the playing field with performance balancing equations that have teetered back and forth between giving advantages to Aston Martin and then back to Corvette. Gamesmanship elevated yesterday when an Aston Martin car burned out in front of the Corvette pits, making a statement which certainly added fuel to the fire of an already intense rivalry.
The battle in the GT2 Championship this season has been simply sensational. 5 different winners from the first 5 races, but it has not stopped the Flying Lizard team and driver Johannes van Overbeek from really taking a firm grasp on the championship at the halfway point in the season. He's done it through consistency, podium finishes at every race, and speed, winning at Mid-Ohio. But just to show you how competitive this category is, yesterday in qualifying, the championship leader qualified dead last. Yes, he is the slowest car in the field here today, and the team really has to go into damage control mode. For his rivals, they have to take advantage here today. They have to take a bite out of that championship lead. But let's take a look at what all of the drivers have to deal with here in Portland with our Kumo track description. Portland International Raceway, just under 2 miles in length and 12 turns, and a fast lap here in a prototype takes just over a minute, so things certainly happen in a hurry. The festival turns can really be a problem at the start of the race and whenever there is traffic to negotiate. The lap begins with a sprint down the front straightaway, then it's hard on the brakes trying to get the car turned into turn 1. Notice the concrete here through the corners. Key is to get good traction here as you launch yourself off towards turn 4. Turns 4 through 7, very low grip. Key for the drivers is to be patient. If you push things too hard, look at Dindo Capello here yesterday. Very loose indeed, nearly loses the car. Then it's down this long curving back straightaway. The key here is no chance for the body or the tires to take a rest before you set up for turns 10 through 12. Very fast indeed. Thread the needle up through the curbs, and then easing onto the brakes, trying to squeeze the power down early, getting a good launch onto this long front straightaway.
Well, folks, the stage is now set and a great crowd on hand, and as the field is now underway with their pace laps, it's time for us to set the field with our Kumho starting grid. We'll show you the entire starting lineup in the upper left corner of the screen, but now let's meet the top qualifiers in our 4 classes.
Hello, my name's James Weaver, and I'm from England.
Butch Leitzinger, Reeversburg, Pennsylvania.
I'm Timo Bernhard from Germany.
I'm Romain Dumas from France.
Hi, I'm Oliver Gavin from Yardley Hastings, England.
Hi, I'm Olivier Beretta from Monaco.
Hello, I'm Jaime Melo from Brazil.
Hi, I'm Mika Salo from Finland.
And for Olivier Beretta, by the way, that is his 18th career pole, extending his record. As you ride on board with some of these cars, the heat is going to be immense because it is unbelievable just around the track. For more on that, let's check back in with Heather.
The heat wave across the country certainly means weather here will be a major factor. It's 98 degrees currently, track temperatures 116, very high humidity, cockpit temperatures expected to reach over 130 degrees. Now drivers will use everything at their disposal, including cool suits, helmet blowers, ice towels, anything they can to keep their body temperature down. And Greg, today weather certainly becomes an element to factor into the winning equation.
Without doubt, as well as hydration. You see all the drink tubes in some of those onboard shots. They've got to keep a lot of fluid pumping into those bodies because they're going to be losing a lot. We're losing the pace car. It has made its way into the pits. The 2 Dyson Lolas take position at the front of the field, coming up for the green to get this 6th round of the American Le Mans Series underway, and the green is out. And the 2 Dysons absolutely side by side. Look at the squeeze play. The Porsche driving the #1 Audi almost to the wall.
Big move by Pirro there, and no team orders there. The 2 Dyson cars fighting it out through turn 2.
Look. Up on the curbs, one of the Porsches. The other one actually shortcut the chicane. Looked like it hit an Audi and knocked it completely sideways.
Got him sideways, but the other one cut across inside the curbing. The other Porsche to take evasive action.
And that's Guy Smith out front right now. He's got the lead from his teammate Butch Leitzinger. So he qualified second. He's already out front.
These sections of the track, Alvin, you talked about in the track maps, very twisty. You're in the corners forever, and that seems to be where these Dysons, the Lolas, have really excelled. They know the setup for these long corners.
Absolutely, but look at Pirro. He had a magic start there. He's already up to 3rd, having qualified 5th.
So it's 2 Lolas, then the Audis, then the first of the Porsches at this stage, and right away the gap growing just a little bit. The 2 Porsches running 5th and 6th, and a good start as well by Duncan Dayton in the Lola that he is fielding, one of the cars that sat on the front row here last year.
Riding with one of the Porsche Spiders here as we look at the leader come down into turn 1. Pirro very aggressive in these early laps. And the number 6 car, Sasha Masson, having to defend there from Duncan Dayton, who's looking really racy in these early laps.
Let's go back one more time and take a look at this start. And once again, it was fraught in the section of track called the Festival Curves. This is from the high camera.
And you can see the Porsche squeezing down the Audi. They go around side by side.
Right here, you're going to see a problem. The Porsche turns Capello to the side. That's how Pirro got around him. On board. There you see him get right into the rear of the corner, and that just turns Capello around. Just good save there by him. Hopefully no damage to either car.
Good recovery by everybody, but look how many of these cars go across on the inside of the curb to take evasive action.
Look at Guy Smith there, very aggressive there, chop it over on Butch Leitzinger. And then you see the Porsche too aggressive there. That was really a mistake by the Porsche there in forcing the issue.
Look at the braking maneuver on that BMW right down the outside. Of course, he uses that as an excuse. Okay, I'll just cut across the inside and see if I can pick up some position.
What you're not allowed to do there, though, Danny, is gain position. So I'm sure the stewards will be reviewing that and seeing if the 21 machine did gain anything by shortcutting the corner.
And, of course, the argument from him will be, well, I was just taking evasive action.
Right.
So the first corner is always interesting here because you're coming down such a wide straightaway.
and you're going into such a tight corner.
We said it would be trouble going down at those festival curves, but hopefully everyone got away unscathed. On board with the 007, this is Thomas Enger there, and he nails Liz Halliday in the gearbox. That was a big one.
Well, things have settled down at this stage, and it is Guy Smith leading. And you had mentioned the aggressive move by Guy. I wonder if that was a little payback to Butch for stealing the pole late in that session, because it looked like Guy was going to have his first ALMS pole.
He did, and Butch Leitzinger said after qualifying, I was tired of my teammate for the last 2 years, Andy Wallace, stealing the pole away from me in the dying moments of qualifying. It was time to return the favor on the sister car.
Well, you know what's interesting, we're just looking out of this camera on the Audi, is they're not right chasing these guys that close. They're semi-close, but they're not threatening to pass them right now.
But remember what we saw over the course of the weekend, Danny. We saw the Audi running lap times about a second or so off the pace. I spoke to Alan McNish. He said we've really done a lot of work on this car, running on tires with a lot of laps on them. So I think once we get 10, 20 laps into this thing, that's when the balance of the race car on the Audi should be very strong. We'll have to see how the Dysons fare.
Now we're going to go back to the GT2 category because a big story developing. Calvin, you had talked about the fact that the 45 entry, the Portal Player Porsche from Flying Lizard, didn't have a great qualifying run, but in the early going here, it has already moved up to fourth in class, perhaps helped a little bit by the goings-on in the festival, but nonetheless a great start by Hensler.
Absolutely. They said after qualifying the car was just way too loose. They made a major setup change to the rear differential. That's how the two rear wheels work together on the race car and just really try to get a lot more traction off the corners, Danny, and that seems to be working Hensler on the move right now.
Take a look at the points currently in the category, and you can see Johannes van Overbeck, who did the qualifying, up by 14 over his teammate. Then there's the cushion back to Brabham and Maxwell in the Panos, 25 points adrift right now.
Well, Greg, the other thing you guys need to keep in mind about Johannes van Overbeck, when they were at Le Mans, he had an accident on his bicycle, dislocated his shoulder by some 7 millimeters, and the doctor said he needed to keep it in a sling for 8 weeks. That was 5 weeks ago, so he is driving and has driven the last 2 races with a very painful shoulder. So it's a hard job, not only because of the heat today, but because Johannes van Overbeck is chasing a championship, and he is in pain.
And you just saw as well Justin Marks defending huge from Scott Maxwell, the BMW, trying to fend off the Panos, but a good drive in the early going for the number 45 of Wolf Hensler. And here are your current standings in the GT2 category.
CBS Sports coverage of American Le Mans, the Portland Grand Prix, is sponsored by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. Michelin, a better way forward. And by Klein Tools, tools worth asking for.
We are back at the Portland Grand Prix, and you are looking at the overall leader. It is the independent Thetford Lola of Guy Smith from the independent Dyson team, having a great run and leading early by a fairly sizable margin. Now, earlier this weekend, Acura delighted the American Le Mans Series paddock with the announcement of 3 new top-tier teams who will run Acura-powered programs in the LMP2 category in 2007. And for both Acura and the teams, the American Le Mans Series was the ultimate choice.
The alignment with the American Le Mans Series was easy because of the Acura brand as being a prestige brand and the competition that you find here in American Le Mans being, you know, Porsche, Ferrari, Audi. Those brands are all prestige brands and direct competitors with Acura. So that part was easy. But the commitment for the company to enter another premier racing series at the level that's required to be successful in this program was a major decision.
What I see is a very high-class series with a lot of depth, a lot of quality of teams, a lot of great drivers. The race cars look cool, they're fast, and I know the drivers that I've spoken to enjoy driving them.
For us to be able to be picked as one of the team is just a big privilege, and Tom Anderson, my partner, and I were, so happy about joining this series. I think the cars are absolutely gorgeous. The series has a great potential growth, and we're just very happy to be here.
And it was some absolutely wonderful news, certainly, that unfolded. Now, the third team, we heard from two of them. The third team is this one right here, Highcroft Racing. Duncan Dayton right now having a very strong run in the early going. And Danny Sullivan, you're actually involved in, to a certain degree, with this program. And what fabulous news.
Well, it's great. Of course, Highcroft Racing's new to the series. Duncan's not new. He's been racing here since 1999. But we're just ecstatic to be a partner with Acura and HPD in this program. And, of course, we think a lot about the series, and we think the competition's tough, and it's going to be a great challenge for us, certainly over the next couple of years.
Now, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we talked now, that's about next year, but just a little bit ago, we talked about the great start that Duncan had, and in fact, was better than than it had been, but in that incident in the turn, the number 6 Porsche was one of the cars that had cut underneath and apparently gained a position, and according to race control, they said, as we had alluded to, that's not right, and so the Porsche was asked to move over and did so absolutely beautifully. Duncan through, and now that puts him up in the 6th place overall, 5th in class.
And this car is a very fast car that Duncan Dayton is running here. This is the car that James Weaver led with the Dyson Racing team until very late in the going here last year, so it's well sorted to this Portland racetrack.
It is, but another interesting fact, that car's 6 years old, and it just shows how well it's sorted, and Duncan's real pleased with the car.
There's a look at the number 6 Porsche, and of course a little bit further up the order is Guy Smith, who has built that lead. At one point it was almost 8 seconds after a few laps. It has now come back to 7 seconds at this stage, but behind him there is a battle royale that is being waged between the gentleman who ended up on pole, his teammate Butch Leitzinger and Emanuele Pirro in the number 1 Audi. And as a matter of fact, there's been a position change as Pirro was able to make a great pass. Now, there is Smith. You can see how much of a lead he has built up. There is Pirro in the number 1 Audi, and you can see now traffic has Leitzinger bottled up just a little bit. He was right behind Pirro, but this was the pass, Calvin.
Was coming down the front straightaway, traffic ahead of him. Look at Pirro dive to the inside, but watch the Pinos. Chops way across the front of the Audi. That was very close indeed to Pirro making contact.
And for everybody at home, the viewers, you forget how well these GT2s, GT1s all brake. And of course, the Audi goes down there, and you think, oh, this will be easy, and they brake as late as the Audis and the P1s and the P2s.
Guys, I checked in down at Dyson Racing on Butch Leitzinger, and they said just after 10 or 12 laps, he's already having some overheating problems with that left front tire. Now, as you guys can describe, it's very hard, this racetrack, very hard on left front tires. That tire has over-temperatured a little bit, over-pressured. That's added some handling difficulties to that Lola that Butch Leitzinger is now piloting.
Typically, when you get a build-up in tire pressure, it's almost like increasing the spring rate, Danny, so it almost would make the car understeer a little bit more for Butch as he fights it through the infield, I would imagine.
Well, that's correct. Remember, the side wall of the tire, the more pressure that goes in there, the stiffer it makes it, and that acts as a spring. So if you've made it harder, it'll become more difficult.
Now let's check in on the goings-on in GT2, and a huge story developing there. This car, the Ferrari that had qualified on pole rather comfortably, is currently way, way back in the order, not even showing at the top of the order in GT2. Heather, any news for us?
Indeed, joined by team owner Giuseppe Rizzi and Jamie Mello with his 3rd pole of the season, but contact early in turn 1. How bad is the damage?
We just damaged some rear body work, but we didn't have to change anything. We just cut off the damaged piece and changed both rear wheels and just let the car out again.
Speaking of damage, in Lime Rock, you did have some damage to your 2nd car competing in this series. What's the timeline like for the replacement car, and what kind of struggles have you gone through to get it here?
That car is ready, and it will be at Road America for the next event.
Did we have some issues with getting it back to the States? Is that why it's taken so long?
Well, we needed a whole new shell, and it's not exactly that's something the Ferrari racing department has sitting on the shelf, so it has to be made, and you've got to go through customs and everything else getting it. So we could have conceivably be here, but it would have been a stretch to do right.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing 2 Ferrari cars back out here. Jamie Mello certainly making up for lost ground, running the fastest lap times right now, guys.
You saw right there the damage right on that left rear corner where it had the contact, but guys, it doesn't look like it's that serious, that deep into the chassis, and obviously the car is running very well.
It is, and more importantly, they just need to calm down now and think about their strategy. There was a lot of concern in the early races this year with the Ferrari in terms of fuel consumption. I spoke to the team this morning. They have changed the mapping of the engine. That's the electronics that determine how much fuel is being pushed into this engine. They feel confident today, if there's not any caution, that they can do this race on one stop, which is critical to winning in GT2 these days.
And in GT2 as well, the other story that we're following, of course, is the battle in points and the number 45 portal player Porsche, which in the hands of Wolf Hensler, as we said, had quickly moved up to 4th in class from the back of the field, has just made a great pass on the number 51 Panos of Tom Milner to move up to 3rd.
Coming through the infield here, Danny.
No, go ahead. We're on all these right-handers, but now we have a left coming up here. Very tricky section in here. Sets him up a little bit, gets to the outside, feints, dives down what is now the outside of this right-hander, leading on the straight, squeezes him a little bit. Now he's on the left hand to go out on the straightaway, which is the shortest distance. That was good racing.
Just good, clean racing there. Tom Milner giving him a couple of inches there, no more to get through those corners. And Wolf Hensler starting at the back of the pack, already up to 3rd.
Well, Hensler may have squeezed him a little bit, but you don't have to make it easy. You just have to make it possible.
Greg, we already talked about the struggles that Johannes Van Overbeek has in that car. Hensler doing a great job right now, but I talked to Tommy Sadler earlier, and he said, look, we're not focused on qualifying. We're focused on running consistent in the race. They spend a lot of time in practice sessions running on old tires because they say that's the way the car is going to run in the race, and it looks to be paying off right now.
Well, from everybody's viewpoint here, keeping the tires alive, especially the rear tires, is key to success here at Portland. Here are your 4 class leaders. A lot of racing to go. From the independent team that has been so impressive here this weekend. And we're going to take a look at what's unfolding in GT1, the 007 entry, driven currently by Thomas Eng. Now, if you're a race car driver in the American Le Mans Series, you've clearly got an adventurous side. But at a stop at Utah's Olympic ski jump training facility recently, Panos Espirani driver GT2 star Gunnar Jeanette, and especially Mr. Enga himself, proved athletic prowess doesn't always extend across disciplines.
Here we are at the Park City Olympic Park, the skiing pool, having a good time. I got my slick getup on, and probably gonna bust myself up before the race, but I'm having fun. I think I'm gonna do a triple Lindy.
I can't do any better. Always fall on the back, on the side. It's horrible. It's very funny for the other people, for the spectators around.
This place is awesome. We're having so much fun.
What do you call that? Backflip by TE. I'm destroyed. I can't do any better than these small guys. It's terrible. I'd rather go back to behind the steering wheel.
This is total chaos. Maybe we should
5 minutes.
end on the high note while we're both not injured.
What?
So maybe we should end while we're both not injured.
Finish.
Yeah.
And then finish.
We've done enough damage.
I think the swimmer pool went down a couple of inches with the amount of water they swallowed.
Well, he made the comment that he wanted to get back behind the steering wheel, but actually, Calvin, that's not going to be going so well for him, as there's a little story with that left wrist that you want to fill us in on.
There is. This week, the team spent time between Salt Lake City and here in Portland doing some mountain biking, and he and the boys got a little bit adventurous, and Thomas fell down, actually sprained his wrist. His left wrist here has a cast on it, so he's in a lot of pain driving the race car. And where he really struggles with is when the car gets a little bit loose and starts to oversteer, and he has to catch the car and you can see him resting the wrist there down the straightaway before he gets down to the corners. But looking inside the cockpit, we see this strap down here. This is a piece of elastic. When they do the driver change, it really brings the seat belts back out of the way, a little bit easier for the driver change. We see a drink tube here coming down. That's for a water bottle to try and keep the guys refreshed. Then you see the radio cord here out towards the outside so that the co-driver can actually plug that in for you. But very busy in the cockpit, and driving one of these race cars with a sprained wrist is not easy.
Especially in these conditions where it's so slippery, and you talked about making the corrections and the like. That happens all the time under these conditions and in this heat. Now, problems have developed for the 009 team car for Aston Martin. Pedro Lamy currently behind the wheel, and you see now that car runs in fourth, and not too long ago they had to make a very unscheduled call in the pits.
They did. There'd been an off there by the drivers, so a little confusion. Look at this. This is not the normal sequence of events that you'd see.
Very chaotic here. This is not a well-oiled pit stop here. Everybody's standing around. They don't know what to do.
When it gets out of sequence, Danny, this is when things start to go wrong. Typically, the car comes in, the fuel has to be done first before you can touch the car. And during this sequence of events here, there was a problem with the guy who signals you in touching the car when the fuel is going in ultimately, and that became a penalty situation that the 009 car has to serve. They're going to come back in. They're just going to fall further back in the event here today.
And look, the fuel
right there. See, right there, the hand is not allowed to be on the car whilst the fuel is going in.
And the other thing that happens almost always when you first pull in until you know what's going on, fuel the car.
Right.
That's the first thing. It takes the longest. Fuel the car, figure out what to do. You saw two guys take the tire. Two guys don't need to take that wheel and tire over and put it on there. Very chaotic pit stop.
Very hard to regroup when you're coming in and there's people flying all over the walls. Someone has to take control there. The crew chief was talking to the guys on the radio, but still confusion, particularly with the refueler, not getting it plugged in and losing a lot of time.
And you would have thought that would have been a great opportunity for the number 3 CompuWare Corvette, but it too had its problems recently running through the festival.
Coming into the festival turn, just carries a little bit too much speed there, Ron Fellows, spinning the car around. Unusual to see Ron make a mistake, but he was chasing down the Aston Martin of Thomas Enger and just got a little too hot, lost the rear end, turned it around, but no damage on the race car.
I think we're going to see this the whole day. You've just got to be patient. You can't make up that much ground. Their cars are too equal, and it's too slippery out there on the track to make up that big of an advantage just in one corner.
It is. The track is very slick, and the cockpit temperatures in these GT1 cars is extreme. 130. If you touch the transmission housing down there, you will literally burn your hand immediately within a split second. So that really compounds the mental pressure on these drivers as they're really trying to stay up with the fatigue that they're going through in these long races.
This is your class leader, Olivier Beretta, and there is the leader of the team, Doug Feehan, watching everything unfold for this CompuWare Corvette racing program. And Beretta, along with Gavin, if they can hang on and win this, he'll extend his wins record. He has more than anybody else in the series, 27 now, going for 28. And, of course, he's got Eng right now, the guy closest to him, who's not exactly healthy.
And it was here last year, Greg, that they started that remarkable streak where they went on a tear, which was only broken a couple of races ago. So they have happy memories of here in Portland, and they'd like to repeat here as the class winner again.
And, of course, you see just in some of those shots how the sun is starting to get a little lower right down the straightaway into Festival. Then the next corner after that, they'll have it. Look at that. And you've got Festival coming up right here. They'll go through this corner right here, and then you get it again. And, Calvin, as you know, this next one's a pretty critical braking zone as well, and you can't really see it. See how shiny it is there? You don't want to get too late there and get out wide. That's not a space you want to go off.
And, of course, as the race unfolds, there's going to be more and more junk getting on the windshield. That they do have huge tear-offs that can rip that off as well, so that will help. But nonetheless, it is going to be problematic for these teams as this race gets later and later in the time count. Now, we want to also bring up, there's a look at the Aston Martin team as they're doing their work down in pit lane. And let's bring you something we're really enjoying here this season. It is our Sunoco Forgotten Fact. And this one is who was the winner of Portland's first IMSA GT race in 1978? Quite a few years ago. See if your memory is on pace. Mull that one over, and we'll have that for you just a little bit later in the show. And once again, we're giving a good look at Guy Smith, who's really putting a great race together. We'll be back with more as you look at your class leaders. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series on CBS will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Is on a tee. Romain Dumas has been on the radio just complaining, let me by. Chris McMurray a couple of laps down, so he's really not a factor here, but Dumas is on a tear. He has to stay patient, Danny. Look at Duncan Dayton.
And look at Duncan's all over him, but everybody's got to be patient here. This is going to play out a lot during the race, a lot of traffic situations.
Very fast sequence of corners. Looks like everybody got smart right there, but getting through here and onto the front straight. And Duncan running a little bit of wide, carrying a lot of speed.
Well, actually, that's the preferred line. You want to run out there a little wide and carry more speed off the corner. Look right here. It's drawn him right up behind him. And it looks like Duncan Dayton's going down the inside.
Slides down the inside. Where is he? He's out to the outside now. Dumas over the curb, turns it around. And then Dumas gets clouded by Duncan as he's spinning.
All right, both
Duncan's
cars
away, both of them away.
This is a drag race in its own right. Duncan's away first.
See if there's any damage.
Oh, Duncan's slowing. Dumas went by.
Okay, you see Duncan Dayton there.
Look at Dumas' car.
Look at Dumas' car.
Is that the battery?
Sideways there.
That looked like the battery fell out on the side of the track. And look at the smoke coming off both the cars. Both of them have a lot of damage on the rear.
There's a lot of fluid coming out of this car as well. Another look at it here. And Dumas not only going for the Porsche, but trying to block simultaneously.
Duncan Dayton, remembers, in a P1 car, has a little bit more straightaway speed. It's a great move down to the inside. Dumas doesn't want to give it to him, and then they just touch as they go through turn 2. Dumas turns him around. Look at Duncan as he backs up, then turns Dumas around with major damage to the left side part on that Penske Porsche.
And if you notice something else, the other Penske Porsches right there behind them could have gotten tangled up in this as well.
And once you go over those curbs like that for a moment, Romain Dumas had no steering control. The front wheels were off the ground right here. He cannot turn the car any tighter than that, Danny, because the front wheels were literally off the ground up over the curb.
Now we are now, as a result of this, under a full course caution, partially because of the debris, like batteries, that these cars were leaving all over the track, and Duncan Dayton is in. And this looks very, very serious. The 7 we get a report now is behind the wall.
Duncan Dayton just having a great drive here today. The team has really been working hard. Haven't had a lot of luck in the first few races, but boy.
See the other crew pitting them, say don't go any further because their car's thinking about coming in.
This is inside the Penske Transport underneath the awning. They're going to try and get him back out, try and get some points out of this thing today.
Told him just to put his visor down. Maybe they're putting fuel in the car.
They've already made a driver change. That's Timo Bernhard, I believe, now in the car. So Dumas is out. Timo Bernhard now strapped in when we go back to racing action.
Now you saw the cars moving around again. Here is really critical. There's a lot of build-up on the tires if they get down too slow. There's build-up meaning other rubber that's out there on the track. So they're trying to get the tires cleaned up and keep the heat in them.
Now, while we're under a full course caution, we're looking at the number 6. The DHL Global Mail Porsche, which is the class leader at this stage. And remember, there are 2 drivers per car in the American Le Mans Series. And you look at this beautiful Porsche. The magic and success of Porsche in sports car racing and street car production over the years has been created and honed at their phenomenal research and development facility in Weissach, Germany. It's a place the co-driver of this car, Porsche GT and now prototype racing star Sascha Maassen, knows very well. Now, Porsche graciously opened the doors for Sascha to give us mere mortals a tour, and it turned out even he was in for a treat.
Welcome to the Porsche Research and Development Center in Weissach, Germany. Not everybody gets in here, but for you, we make an exception today. This is our new motorsport facility where more than 200 people are working for different motorsports programs all over the world. And also the RS Spider has been developed in here and also built in here. Let's have a look inside. Here we are in the busiest area of the Porsche Motorsport facility. More than 200 Porsche race cars are getting built and maintained in here, starting from the Porsche GT3 Cup, which we see here, up to the Porsche GT3 RS, which is raced also in the ALMS in the GT2 class. Now we are in the race engine assembly area. This is the first time they let me in here, so it's quite a secret place. This is a 3.4 liter V8 engine of the RS Spider. and it has around 480 horsepower. And this is actually going to be my Portland race engine. We also have our own test track here in Weissach, which is mainly used for shaking down or testing our new race cars, but also we are testing here our new street cars. We have 3 different possible configurations, a low speed, a mid speed and a high speed configuration. So I hope you liked our little tour through the Weissach facility. Goodbye, and I go now back to the things that I like the most.
And I've been to that facility, and it's phenomenal what they can do there. They also have an off-road track in the middle, which they used to do the Paris-Dakar cars on and the rally cars and so forth. It's a phenomenal facility. If you ever get there, it's just a great place to go, and it really shows what Porsche can do.
And here is a sad shot as they continue to work on the number 7 entry. An awful lot of damage to the just in front of that left rear wheel where they are working at this stage. So, well, let's, as we are under the caution, take a look at our current standings in the P1 category and overall.
Tempers are flaring.
It's people don't know. The enemy of the tires. Corvette's team manager for Michelin, Donnie Wilson. And Donnie, how does the heat change the strategy for today's race in terms of the tires?
Well, the hot surface makes the tires heat up more, so consequently they slide more. So we have to find a balance between something that's hard enough to run a fuel stint, but something that's grippy enough to keep the car on the track.
And Michelin using 3 different tire compounds because of that strategy. Now let's check in with Brian Till.
Well, Heather, it's not only hot on the racetrack, it's hot in the cockpits as well. Romain Dumas standing here. This is not where you want to be. You had a good run going. We had that contact with Duncan out there. Was it the original contact, or did he roll back into you? Is that what created the damage?
The biggest damage came, when he was going back. I was passing on his rear, and he hit my car. So unfortunately, it was a cooler with we need to change it, and we lost a lot of time with this. Right now, I think they arrived to put out it, but I mean, it's a race like this. The first chicane is really hot. I wanted to block him a little bit and brake on a dirty part. So we arrive side by side on a chicane, and it happens. That's racing, but it's not so good.
Disappointing to say the least, and to make matters worse, that long run around overheated the car a little bit. Heather.
That contact with the number 9 car forced Duncan Dayton and the 9 car to come in for what they thought would be a routine pit stop. They did 4 new tires, fuel, as well as a driver change to Andy Wallace. However, that number 9 car didn't make it out of the pits, came back because of some left rear suspension problems. It's caused a lot of mechanical issues, a lot of replacement parts, and that number 9 car, after running so well, certainly struggling right now.
And we are back to green as well, down into the festival, and look at the pileup. There's a GT2 car and all the prototypes streaming up behind.
That GT2 car, look how slow he's going.
Yeah,
I think that car's got a problem. He's just not up to speed there.
Oh, lock up
on the outside. That may be one of the Dysons.
That is Butch Leitzinger's run wide.
I don't know if there was contact, if he has a tire going down, but there's some major lockup there. We see some of the louvers that are exploded there. That's pretty normal with the amount of pickup on the tires that then rolls around and gets spun back out and breaks the bodywork. But it looks like Butch Leitzinger is struggling with the race car.
He's got a right rear.
Is down.
Exactly. Right rear flat. Somebody obviously made contact there with him because the bodywork is damaged as well. You can see that. So he obviously got punted someplace.
What that does, it cross-weights the car strangely. So when he got on the brakes there down into turn 4, he didn't have the weight on the right front corner of the car. Take another look.
Now the contact could have come prior to that, back at the chicane, because his tire's smoking okay. I believe when that slower GT2 car was coming out of the festival chicane right there, he got contact there, and the result happened a little bit later.
And the key now for the driver is to get back to the pit lane as quickly, but without damaging the bodywork. If he just goes down there at maximum speed and just has that tire flailing around and down.
Look, you can see the rim right on the tail. That can damage the suspension. They've got to go slow, and it's very tough for a driver.
Better to spend 20 extra seconds getting the car back to pit lane than necessitating a 10-minute extra length in pit stop to fix the bodywork. So this is Butch's experience here. in the 16 machine really coming into play. Remember, these guys are really heavy in this P1 points chase, currently sitting second behind McNish and Capello.
Well, Butch has been running with this Dyson team for, what, 11 years? His teammate Weaver for 20, so experience is absolutely right. And, boy, is he just crawling in, but it's the smart thing to do, as you pointed out. Now let the team go to work. Brian?
Butch Leitzinger brings the car to a stop. As you said, excruciatingly slow run down pit lane. The good thing, though, is when you look at the tire, even though the carcass has come apart a little bit, it has stayed on the wheel. What does the damage a lot of times is that comes apart and basically turns into a giant saw blade, cutting the bodywork and the suspension component. Did not see that type of damage here. Butch's experience bringing that car in slowly did good things for this car. The team will look at some of the bodywork damage in the back, some of that done by the tire, some of that done by the contact. I would imagine they will get to work and get that fixed. But once again, you talk about Leitzinger's experience. It's the reason that the car made it back to pit lane in one piece. They'll work on that suspension, make sure everything is in one piece, get a tire bolted back on. I'm sure they'll take on a little bit of fuel too. They might as well while they're here in pit lane, and then they'll get this car back out. But this is a significant blow to their hopes at taking home a victory. Heather.
In the Corvette pits with Olivier Beretta, and Olivier, you've got ice towels. Just how extreme are the conditions out there?
It's very, very difficult because the Corvette is very strong. But we have a big penalty on the engine. We run with a small restrictor and the Aston run with a big restrictor. So they are a lot faster than us and we have to stress more the car. But the Corvette is amazing, strong car. And but the rules has to be changed because now it's too much.
Certainly a lot of controversy out here. Let's go back to you guys.
All right, thanks very much, Heather. And boy, you can see he was clearly working very, very hard. But at the same time, that was the car that was and is and remains the leader in the GT1 category. And after the stops, Ollie Gavin now behind the wheel. And these guys have had just a tremendous run of success. Obviously, certainly here, but also in this series as of late. And they're looking to get back on the top step of that podium.
There's just been a lot of consternation amongst the GT1 field about that performance balancing, but right now we have Alan McNish. These guys have been on a tear. They've almost been unbeaten until the last round. They got that puncher late in the going at Salt Lake City that cost them the victory there. But Alan McNish back at the front of the pack in the new R10 TDI Audi.
And he's leading teammate Biela second, and the reason is the pit stops under that caution, the exchange. They obviously got their pit sequencing done very nicely. They now are leading 1-2, and the number 20 car that Guy Smith had run so strongly earlier now is turned over to Chris Dyson. That car's still right there, third in class.
He is, and Chris Dyson loves this racetrack. Back in 2004, it's really his coming out party. There we see the sister car, the number 16 car, coming back out of the pits. Butch Leitzinger's still behind the wheel. I'm surprised James hasn't jumped in the car. James Weaver, his teammate. And he'll just try and feel this car out, see if there's any further suspension damage. He'll take a few corners here at least, Danny, to try and feel the car out.
Absolutely. Even though you look it over, you don't know which damage is in there, if it knocked it out of alignment a little bit, so he'll feel it out.
And here's a look once again at the number 4 Corvette, the CompuWare entry. Now, as we said, with Ollie Gavin behind the wheel, one of the great personalities in the sport. Let's learn a little bit more about Ollie with Fast Exit.
I like going on the train, actually. When we go, sometimes we go from home to Le Mans, go on the train. Really good, really nice, very relaxed. None of the messing around with security and all that sort of stuff. Chicken. Yeah, quite like chicken. Yeah, it's you can have it with so many different things. Yeah, I'm pretty boring like that, unfortunately. Cake. Yeah, I like my cake. My wife cooks brilliant cakes. Fantastic.
He had to say that, right? He wants to get fed tomorrow night when he gets home.
A good point. Speak well of the meal prepared for you, indeed, and drive quickly to be able to afford the ingredients, and they have been doing that very, very well and continue to lead right now. But they find themselves with actually some space between themselves. There's a few cars separating them to the number 007 Aston Martin. Darren Turner now behind the wheel of that car, so they've got a little bit of a buffer, and you can see nobody really behind them at this stage of the race. They like that kind of cushion.
They do, and Enger did a tremendous job in the Aston Martin by staying on the lead lap, probably driving with a tremendous amount of pain. We talk about the wrist that got injured, but the other key was for him starting. He said he was really struggling to do a driver change to buckle himself in, so that's why they decided to start Thomas Enger in the Aston Martin rather than him having to get in the car.
Good run here now. Here's a look at Liz Halliday, and she's pretty warm as well. Earlier in the weekend, another great series, one of the support series ran, and it was, as always, spectacular. At the start of the 7th round of the Star Mazda Championship, the series elected to bypass the festival turns in an effort to eliminate any first turn incident. Well, it would prove to be a rather fruitless attempt, as into the first corner, if you will. A big moment. Points leader Adrian Cario spins on the curbs, gets collected. His day done. A long caution ensued to clean up this mess, and it was a big one. 8 cars involved. Then we go to the restart, and Michael Potikin, who had his problems at Utah at the most recent round, jumped into the lead. Gerardo Bonilla gave us some great onboard shots as he proceeded to work his way up into the 6th spot. But up front, Potikin remained untouchable and earned his 2nd win of the season and his 2nd win here at Portland, where he won in 04. And after celebrating, well, he knew he was back in contention, 2nd place in the points. And we'll be right back.
Prix is sponsored by the diesel-powered Audi R10 TDI, initiating a new dawn of power. Kumho Tires, race-proven performance. PokerStars.net, take the driver's seat. And by Sunoco, fueling drivers with a passion for cars. Sunoco, the official gasoline of the American Le Mans Series.
Welcome back, everybody. A familiar sight so far this season. Alan McNish leading in an Audi. Not always familiar here at Portland, the way the Dysons have been running, but it has been a tough day for them so far. In the P2 category, here is Clint Field now behind the wheel of the very, very exotics rehearsals.com Intersport Lola. And this is huge because with the problems now for the 7 car, you'll find that Field Halliday, they came in here with only a 1-point lead over Luhr and Maassen. They are now 2nd, and you would think Bernard and Dumas, one of their strategies is to take points, obviously, from Field Halliday. That's not happening right now.
It isn't. There's a 4-point spread between 1st and 2nd place in any event, so if it stays the way it is right now, certainly the 6 car should assume the lead, but this 37 car just keeps finishing on the podium week in and week out.
And Brian Till, obviously, we've talked about a few things here, and one of them is pickup. What is it?
Well, let me explain it to you, Greg. This is a Goodyear racing slick that would be on the number 37 Intersport Lola. It's nice and smooth, and as it goes around the racetrack, this rubber literally gets pulled off to the side, kind of gets discarded offline a little bit. The racing slick also gets very, very hot. What the problem is if you ride offline on that very hot racing slick, you pick that rubber back up. Look at these tires that came off the number 37 when it came in for that last pit stop. You can see all of this rubber built up on it. It really picks up offline if you're coming into pit lane or under a full course caution. That's going to affect the way the car handles. The car won't have good grip anymore, and also the tires will be really out of balance. The other thing that pickup does, those little shards of rubber get thrown up from the tires and into the radiators. Look at these balls of rubber that came out of the radiator openings on the number 37 Intersport Lola on that last stop. They get in those radiator openings, they plug up the screens in front of the radiators, and you end up with some serious overheating problems.
Well, there's also one other factor. When you get that buildup on there, it makes the car feel like there's a puncture. And you slow down and come in, you may change it, and then the next time when you may have a puncture, you can't tell the difference. It's very tough to get that buildup off the tire.
It is, and we saw in the Michelin tire summary, there's so many different tire manufacturers out there, and they're not compatible with one another. So if you're driving around, you pick up rubber from another tire manufacturer, it's not going to help the car's performance, certainly.
So you could start with a Goodyear and end up with a Michelin.
Yeah, depending on the team, that may be a good thing. I'm not sure.
Now, the other driver in this car we've talked about is Liz Halliday, who was also an Olympic-level equestrian in Europe. Now, as if pursuing 2 sports on both sides of the Atlantic isn't enough, this weekend she's trying her hand at yet another specialty.
Hi, I'm Liz Halliday. I'm going to be your pit reporter for the day. We're going to spend some time talking to some of the drivers and see what's on their minds. Duncan Dayton, just a couple questions for you. We're just wondering if you have any sort of weird rituals before you race, and be careful how you answer this because I have shared a race car with you before.
Well, I pray to Buddha usually and rub my head and pat my belly, but other than that, that's about it.
Nice. And also, just sort of wondering, a few people want to know what you think about having a woman on the racetrack. And like I say, seeing as you have actually shared a car with me, just wondering what you think about all of that.
It's really scary.
We're trying to figure out who you think is the most stylish driver out here in the paddock while they're in the paddock.
Well, I'm thinking your co-driver, Clint's looking pretty good with those glasses. In fact, I was walking around this weekend and I saw John had the same pair, and I thought maybe they went somewhere and bought 2 of them for the price of 1. I don't know.
Being the style icon that you are, Clint Field, with those really awesome shades, which have recently been commented on by Chris McMurray, who do you feel is the most stylish, aside from yourself, in the paddock?
You know, I don't know. I mean, Dad would be a good... I mean, he's pretty stylish. I mean, old-timer.
Just wondering if you have any sort of special rituals or any routine you have before you get in the race car.
No, really. I've been through all that sort of thing, and every time I found something that I thought was bringing me a bit of luck, I found the next race it didn't, and I lost. So I kind of got rid of all that stuff quite early in my career. There's some drivers, I tell you, I heard a good one of Stefano Modena, and he used to sit in the car, and if someone touched him when he was in the car, he'd have to get out and start all over again. So the perfect situation, 30 minutes before the start, give him a tap on the shoulders, and that's it, he's out of the race.
Well, today we've talked to a lot of different drivers about a variety of topics, and I never understood that my co-driver was so sensitive about his glasses. Anyway, I'm Liz Halliday from CBS Sports.
And that's Dad, styling.
He is.
Wears glasses, though.
Well, and brave words from Clint, old-timer.
Yeah, really.
John, maybe he's fast, though, when he gets behind the wheel of that car. He's enjoying the racing going on here today, obviously, in that team, as we talked about, sitting second in the P2 class right now, so looking for another one of those results.
Well, they're staying out of trouble. They're keeping out of everybody's way, and I think that's really important around here.
Now, let's look at what's going on in GT2, and here you see Patrick Long in the MM Peterson White Lightning Porsche, the number 31 entry, and looks like, ooh, that Audi behind him almost running wide. That is McNish coming up trying to get by, and Patrick Long right now leads this class and does so, moves over, lets McNish slide through, but apparently we're getting a look here, and it looks like the, is it the driver's side? One of the windows is out, passenger side.
Indeed, Greg, it is the passenger side window, but that was by design. The reason why, to try and keep the cockpit temperatures down. Now, yesterday, the window was a story as well. The driver's side plexiglass window shattered during practice when the glue melted due to this extreme heat. Then the suction of the air pulled the outside mirror glass into the cockpit. They also had to remove rubber that had melted off the clutch pad and got lodged behind the throttle, so it's certainly been a struggle to deal with this heat. I asked about the aerodynamics of the car without that right side window in. They said it affects the rear wing a little bit, but it was worth it to try and keep the drivers cool.
I don't know about you, Calvin, but I've been in one of those closed cars, and it's unbelievably how much heat is in there. And you might think, well, the Porsche's got the engine in the back, but there's so much heat coming from up front that it's sometimes unbearable.
We ride on board right here. This is a battle for position. 21, Joey Hand in the BMW, and that is Jamie Mello in the Ferrari trying the outside pass and just drives by on the outside. However, great braking for the BMW here, guys.
It is. The BMW is the best car in the class on the brakes. It has ABS. This is the true four-seater car, so it allows them to run an ABS system on this machine, and they've been dynamite on the brakes, but Jamie Mello had superior horsepower down that front straightaway and got him in a good track position.
Joey Hand told me earlier in the weekend, he said he didn't think there was anybody out there that could actually outbrake him because of that ABS.
In anything. Forget the category.
Anything, right? Exactly.
That's a nice feeling to have.
When you also see Yokohama right there, and they've been talking about this team, that the Yokohamas, which really struggled a bit at Utah, are just phenomenal here. This car is dialed, and look at this. Jamie Mello trying to get around Whoa! And then catches some monster air.
Little rallying here. Okay, going down the other pit lane into the Star Mazda place. Got a lot of grass in that radiator right there.
That could be an issue, but wow, that was some ride.
Here it is from the other angle. Look at this.
Yes, he just got in wide there. He took Joey Hand on the outside and just got in a little shallow entry to the corner. Joey's back underway. Jamie's going to come through the other pit lane that's there for the support races.
But look right there at the front radiators on both sides. Look at all the grass buildup in there. That could be an issue very shortly.
Right there, you can see it. And that is a problem. I mean, a few laps like that, they're going to have a problem.
And it showed you right there, too, how deep that the BMW could take that Ferrari in there. And that is a very, very quick corner right there.
But great racing. We talked about GT2. It's been sensational this year. We're seeing this week in and week out. Different cars, different drivers just going hammer and tongs.
It seemed to me like a pretty optimistic place to try and make a pass going into those quick left-right corners back there.
Well, it is. If you can get in front of him, you'd be okay. But obviously, Joey Hand took him down in there very deep and said, you want to have it, that's okay. You go on the outside and pass me if you can.
That's right. He had obviously defended position there because Joey really wasn't on the correct racing line. Jamie was, but having to make the move around the outside, right in the corner we're looking at right now, which is sensational through here. 10 and 11, beautiful set of corners, Danny.
Very, very quick there in anything you drive. I mean, some of these cars, it's fourth gear down there. It's very fast. And as we saw, if you go off, though, it's pretty spectacular. That was good.
That was a great save, wasn't it?
Great save. Good rally stuff there.
That was some great racing, and earlier we asked a great question, and we're wondering how many of you may have got it right. Remember, the question was, who was the winner of Portland's first IMSA GT race back here in 1978? Well, if your guess was one of the legends in GT racing, Peter Gregg, 6 times IMSA GT champion, you would be absolutely right. And if you recall, his number was retired because of the incredible run that he put together in that number 59 Brumos Porsche. Now, next Sunday, Jim Nantz hosts as legend Jack Nicklaus and superstar Peyton Manning discuss the discipline, the preparation, and the motivation that's made them heroes when RBS presents Jack and Peyton on Winning. That's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the heat, the pressure, I think that's Guy Smith getting a little bit of relief on the physical end of things here in the heat at Portland. Here are your 4 class leaders. Outspoken battle with the number 23 Alex Job Racing program. It was the 23 car that uncorked a phenomenal stop of 48.5 seconds. Watch this. It was incredibly close.
It really was. There's a lot of competition here between these pit crews. They want to win this, so they got bragging rights. But there's also a 10 grand check that goes along with it. So certainly Rob Liddell, who's in the car after Mike Rockefeller jumped out, a lot of pressure on him joining that team with that weekend. He didn't want to stall the car and cost the team a lot of money.
And he didn't. You saw the time they put up. That means, as you said, 10 grand from Klein Tools, and they advanced to the next round. So that was absolutely stellar. And I'll tell you, the crowd that gathers around that stuff is superb because it is exciting.
It's a lot of fun.
And I'll tell you one thing, I've done it. There's a lot of pressure on the driver because if you screw up, the team's like, hey, dude, you just cost us 10 grand. What are you thinking about?
You got to look right here, the third car in your frame, trying to figure out a way by here. There's 3 different classes. That was Alan McNish, and he was able to get by one of the GT2 cars, one of the GT1 cars, and now Alan McNish finds himself with a little bit of clear track and the overall lead here at Portland. Now, keep in mind, Alan has an overall Le Mans 24-hour win, an American Le Mans Series championship, and a full season of Formula One on his resume. But all that still apparently isn't enough to fulfill his need for speed. So a recent opportunity at the Olympic bobsled training facility near Park City, Utah, proved just too good to pass up.
Here we are, just before we start. Pressure's building. Pole position 109 at the moment. See you later. Bye-bye.
And he thought Sebring in an Audi was rough.
That is violent coming down that run there. You can see Alan trying to look through the corners. Heather's just there in the back having a whale of a time streaming her head off. Look at that. That looks like a fun ride.
And how come Heather's in shorts and kind of a top and McNish is in a fireproof suit?
He's a wussy.
Oh, how'd we do?
I don't know, I'll tell you in a second. How did we get on? Did we win? Unbelievable. Look at me, it's like I've done a race. I don't think I've had that much vibration and shaking around in my entire life. 24 hours of Le Mans, much physically easier than 1 minute coming blasting down that bobsled route. 103.82. Gold medal.
And we'd certainly like to thank the Utah Olympic Park for what was a blast. Now, we will give the honorary gold medal to Alan, but it's hard to believe that he thought that was more physically demanding than the 24-hour of Le Mans. Hard to believe, and he even told me that he had to see a physical therapist last week because of a sore lower back. Now, for comparison's sake, a space shuttle does 4 Gs off its launch pad. We were doing 5 Gs, guys.
Well, I don't think there's any question that out of everybody up there, the real adrenaline junkie is Heather.
Yeah. She's been in every one of these.
Yeah,
we've seen her in the airplanes. She's been down this stuff. I'm sure she's just instigating all these guys to go so she can cover it.
Yeah, this is really all about her. Feeding her addiction.
Alan McNish, such a master in traffic. You can see him ducking and diving through this infield, Danny, and that is not easy.
It's not easy, and you have to be precise, but you have to be very aggressive to get by there and not make a mistake. And of course, he proved he could do that very well at Lime Rock.
Look at those louvers there. You just see over on the left side of the fender. We talked about that tire pickup. Brian Till showed those like snowballs of rubber. What they do, they stick up underneath the fenders, then they'll drop down and the wheel spins them back up, flicks those louvers open. And what it actually does, Danny, is increase the downforce in the front of the car. What it's allowing is that air to escape, and it pins the nose a little bit more. So some of the teams actually try and balance the car around that so the car will actually come to them when those louvers get kicked out.
Well, they do, and they also kind of cut those louvers a little bit, so if they get a little impact, it comes up. Now they got more downforce, and they also are dissipating the air a little bit more.
Well, Calvin, not only do those holes add downforce to the front, but I checked in with the Dyson team. They said the other thing it does, Jamie Weaver was saying, it creates a lot of dirty air from that point back, and the air doesn't travel over the rear wing as well as it should. So now you lose downforce in the back, you gain downforce in the front. It makes the car very loose.
Want to remind you, tonight on CBS, don't miss TV's #1 news magazine, 60 Minutes, followed by Big Brother All-Stars, plus Cold Case and Without a Trace. It's tonight on CBS, America's #1 network. Going to take a look right now at our 4 class leaders in the 4 different categories that run simultaneously here in American Le Mans Series competition. The crowd enjoying what is unfolding out to be a very interesting race. Now, a little bit earlier in the week, a huge celebration in Detroit. The reason in sports car racing's few achievements compared to winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans, let alone doing so for the 5th time and 3rd straight. So a special celebration was held to celebrate that very achievement this June by Corvette Racing in General Motors' hometown of Detroit. And for Peter Kamanos, owner of both team sponsor CompuWare and the Hurricanes, he got a replica of the trophy to go with his recently acquired Stanley Cup. And coverage of the American Le Mans Series on CBS Sports back after this word from your local station. And fantasy racing on AmericanLeMans.com has taken off in a big way. Log on today for a chance to race against other drivers and fans on the series' best road courses. You can win prizes and follow the series throughout the season. That's AmericanLeMans.com. And you ride on board right now with the number 50 Panos, David Brabham behind the wheel, and of course that team rides on Pirelli tires. Now if you drive from Salt Lake City, site of last week's American Le Mans Series race, to Portland, you go through some stunning scenery. But for a few lucky drivers, courtesy of that very tires manufacturer, Pirelli, that trip simply became the adventure of a lifetime.
Let's go rafting! Yeah!
We traveled 8 miles in the beautiful White Salmon River, ran several Class 3 rapids, jumped off a cliff, and had the option to run over the Class 5 Houston Falls, and made it successfully today. So had a great trip.
It was a very good day. We enjoyed a lot. It was a fantastic river, very exciting, so it's perfect. I'm very happy to be here, and before the race, it's very good, relaxing.
We're all nice and relaxed now. We've had a couple of days off in Salt Lake, and now we've been down here as well, and it's just nice and relaxed. It's a good way to build up for the weekend, because every race weekend there's stress and everything you have to deal with, and now that we're in this sort of frame of mood, it should be a good weekend for starting from here now.
Tell you what, on Sunday when it's 105 degrees out and probably 150 degrees inside the race car, I'm going to be wishing I was right here.
refreshing and heart-pumping at the same time.
It was. Beautiful country, though.
Absolutely stunning. And you'll notice that yellow car right there, the DHL Global number 6, Lucas Luhr behind the wheel of that Porsche. That is now a P2 car, but it is your overall race leader. And the reason is a series of pit stops while we were in break by the top P1 teams. We're going to take you back and show you what unfolded. It all started with a strategy call for the number 20.
Yeah, this is Chris Dyson. There was some radio conversation about whether Chris would take tires here. Remember, in this series, whilst the fuel is going in, the tires cannot be changed. So if you can do a double stint, staying on the same set of tires, you save time. But Chris said, no, I need tires. So hence the third place runner at this point came in for a full service.
Donovan, set up quick.
Then both Audis pitted at about the same time.
It is. Is McNish going to stay in the number 1 car? We're looking at the louvers there. We keep talking about those all day long. Right there, busted out, talking about the downforce issues. That's actually Bieler's car, number 1. McNish right in front. McNish got away first. And then Frank Bieler with a smoky burnout. All that torque with that new diesel engine.
And then the car that started on pole, number 16, Leitzinger brought it in, had to do a driver change.
He did. You got a maximum amount of time that you can do in the car here with 2 hours, just under the 2-hour mark. They brought him in and put James Weaver in to finish this one off.
Let's also not forget one thing. The guy who's calling the number 6 car that you see in your screen right there is one Roger Penske. And there's probably nobody clever at calling a race than that man.
Lucas Luhr celebrates his 27th birthday here today, and he'd like nothing more than to celebrate it with a victory.
Somebody else, as I recall, is celebrating a birthday here today. I think
slightly older.
Marginally older. Happy birthday, Cal.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
How old?
We don't need to get into that.
You had to put him on the spot.
Well, just checking.
Not much of a better way to spend a birthday than calling a great sports car.
It is, and there's a great day here in Portland. I'm hoping for some performance balancing on my age by the end of the day.
Well, we talked about the car that started on pole, and it was a very eventful race for the number 16, Thetford Norco Lola. Brian Till, you have Mr. Leitzinger.
Yeah, you could say eventful. Great qualifying run, Butch, but then the restart. We were actually just looking at some body work on your car, and it looks to have some pieces stuck in it that don't belong to you.
No, we, well, first off, Chris and I both got a pretty good start, and we got passed by the Audi like we were tied to a post. I think everyone should go out and buy an Audi diesel because obviously they have tons of power. I don't recommend racing against them, but you should have one on the street. And then got down to the turn, and somebody must have hit me. To be honest, I didn't feel that much. I felt like maybe a little bit of a push. But on the run to the next turn, felt a bit of a wall up to the car and pressed the brake pedal and just went riding through the buckwheat.
Well, we've been talking all day long about pickup. How bad is the pickup out there for you guys?
The pickup's murder. It's not even only if you're passing a car that you get pickup on the tires. If you even drive anywhere close to the normal line should be, you get pickup. Really, it's just a series of little stabs, and then you crawl around the inside of the turn, and really, the whole time you're just scanning for any kind of rubber on the track because it's just shooting it off through the louvers in the car. It's really bad.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
We're going to take a replay here of what Butch Leitzinger is talking about. That gets really hectic. We've got a GT2 car right there at the front of the pack. Look at all the prototypes stacking up right behind him. Here's Butch Leitzinger and Bieler. We roll it a little bit further. Butch Leitzinger has had the tap from Frank Bieler then, and then they're going to head down into turn 4. And as Butch starts to brake for that corner, the right rear tire is down. So as he brakes for the corner, look at the lock up there. As he goes down into the corner, he's got no weight on the left front corner. As he tries to turn in, takes a trip across the grass, and then a long lap to get it back to pit lane and try and get the tire replaced and the bodywork fixed.
And that long lap cost them a couple of laps, and now they're well back in the order at this stage. And once again, James Weaver now has the chore of just hustling that car as best he can to try and accrue as many points as possible. Now in GT2, the number 31, the Peterson White Lightning MM Pi entry, Patrick Long behind the wheel continues to lead. It has fended off pressure from a number of cars, and once again, the car that sits second in the class is the Prototype Technology Group BMW behind this car a little bit behind, but Joey Hand, once again, he and Oberlin are giving this car a tremendous ride.
What a turnaround in Forges at Salt Lake City. They were really struggling. They said the two tracks which had gone to, which have brand new racing service, Miller Motorsports Park and Mid-Ohio, we really struggled there. We just couldn't get the tires to work. But here, the Yokohamas are dynamite. They're really getting a great launch off the corners, Danny, and even though they don't have the straightaway speed of some of the other cars, it gets them in a good position.
They don't, of course, they have that tremendous braking power under here with the ABS, and this, it really suits the track right here. And of course the sister car
right here,
the 22, Justin Marks and Brian Sellers on board.
Those are the two drivers. Mark's behind the wheel right now, running 9th in class at this stage, and they've dropped off just a little bit. But they, too, had a fairly decent qualifying run within just a little over half second off of their team car, and obviously working as best they can right now and working through it, looking forward to some developments hopefully down the line for the BMW program. But I'll tell you what, they have really put it together well here.
Did a great job. The 22 car made some changes to the setup overnight, and in the warm-up this morning, they were very fast, a lot faster than they qualified at. Here's the number 23 car, Mike Rockenfeller.
And there's a little bit of damage on the right front corner of that car. And as a result, obviously, they're just probably not quite on the pace that they should be. Rocky giving it a tremendous drive right now and has it up to 3rd in class.
And the problem is, Greg, those front grills hold the radiators, and they're actually built of aluminum and plastic. So if they get kinked there, take a little bit of a tweak, it's very easy for the plastics around to break and rupture that radiator. That's a big issue.
Of course, when you come in and tell Alex Job that's a small little piece of damage, he might disagree.
Right, I think that could be very well true. Now we're on board with Johannes van Overbeek and the number 45 Portal player. Porsche currently 4th in class, and this is key because once again he came in here in the points lead, and they're just trying to do everything they can, and they've had a good run coming from the very last qualifying spot up into the 4th spot.
They're currently 4th, but the guy right behind them is Mika Salo, and he's made his final pit stop. We expect all of the leaders here in GT2 to need another pit stop for fuel to get to the checkered flag here.
And that car, that Ferrari, with Mello and, of course, with Mika Salo on board, has been running quite a bit quicker than everybody else in that class.
And you just saw a little bit of an example of trying to clean some of the junk out, some of the tires that they may need to use. And tomorrow on CBS, catch TV's best lineup of comedies, The King of Queens, How I Met Your Mother, and 2.5 Men, followed by Monday's #1 show, CSI Miami, plus David Letterman. That's tomorrow on CBS, America's #1 network. Here are your class leaders, the 4 divisions, and Lucas Luhr right now in P2 leads overall. In the number 2 car, Frankie Biela in the number 1 car. But the Corvettes have also made a couple of stops, and that has sort of changed things up a little bit, and there is a bit of a controversy apparently brewing.
Earlier we discussed the rivalry between Corvette and Aston Martin. Well, that has actually extended to the pit crew. Crew chief George Howard Chappell has been in the ear of IMSA officials throughout the race, complaining that Corvette is actually using more than one person allotted to assist in driver changes. He also complained that the Aston Martins were actually cut off heading into pit lane. He said, hey, both of those infractions were without a penalty. We had one hand on the windscreen, and we got penalties. I'd like to see more parity with the penalties being doled out. Now, a few minutes ago, we actually watched Corvette doing their pit change with George Howard Chappell, and he said, yes, indeed, they are using 2 people. This flat out isn't fair.
Well, what happens during those driver changes? The drivers are allowed to help each other, but you can substitute the driver for another crew member, but it can only be one person, so let's take a look. There you see right now, they're struggling with the seatbelt here on Ron Fellows, who just jumped in, and there's delay in the stop. The fuel is in, the tires are changed, Ron Fellows in the car, but the crew member cannot get the seatbelt done up. Look right there. That is 2 people. George Howard Chappell has a beef there, and he's correct. You can't have 2 guys helping.
Now, how about this one? This is the 4 car.
Another look is Ollie Gavin jumping out, Beretta getting in. These are the leaders in class right now. Critical pit stop.
Boy, the intense look on those Aston Martin crew members watching this absolutely eagle-eyed, trying to spot anything, Cal.
They are, and this one looks clean. You see one of the guys working on the radiator grill. They can't do that whilst the fuel is going in. They can do it whilst the tires and the rest of the service is happening. So it looked like a good, clean start there. Didn't see an issue with the 4 car. For the 3 car, I think there was a problem.
Well, there was certainly some pretty intense lobbying going on after those stops unfolded by, again, the Aston Martin team. There's a look at the 3 car, and that very long stop dealing with the belts, problematic there. And look at Johnny O'Connell after getting out. You don't think these guys work?
This shows this is a tough sport. These guys are great athletes. Look at that. You tell me any other sport that a guy comes out after an hour with something like that. That guy's been working and working hard.
Unbelievable. Trying to get some fresh air to Johnny. There's Linda Fellows, Ron's wife, helping out there. But when those pit stops go wrong, that's when the teams get these penalties. There was a problem with the seat belts, and suddenly everyone goes into panic mode.
And remember, we saw that earlier with the Aston when the guy put the hand down on the car.
Exactly.
They got a minute penalty, a minute stop-and-go penalty.
So it's out of sequence normally.
It's all out of sequence. They get out of whack. The guys get out of rhythm. And there's a problem.
Because when the tires are going on, you can have your hand on the windshield, but you can't do it because they did it in the reverse order.
Exactly. And now, that guy was having trouble with the seatbelt. Fellows, I think, had sat down on the seatbelt, and he was trying to get it out from underneath him.
It's important to point out, though, after all of the pit stops, the number 4 Corvette right here, the CompuWare entry with Olivier Beretta behind the wheel, does continue to lead GT1. And in GT2, you take a look here. Look at that beautiful sun. It's a little bit of a problem for the drivers. And you notice Yokohama on the top of that car. Well, the strategy of race on Sunday, sell on Monday is embraced not just by car builders, but by tire manufacturers as well. And to find or keep an edge, they'll go far and wide to find just the right surface to test on, as Heather Cox tells us in the Yokohama Performance Update.
American Le Mans Series fans are certainly accustomed to tire manufacturers using motorsports to both test and create products that eventually make their way to the consumer. However, this doesn't always take place on a racetrack. Companies like Yokohama are actually using deserts from California to Mexico to get this done. Now joined by Robert Dolan, Yokohama has actually come out with a new all-terrain tire. What role did racing play in the tire's development?
Well, instead of utilizing a normal road course, we took this tire, the Geolander ATS, out to the most extreme contest in the world, the Baja 1000. In this situation, what we learned in Baja led to several key components, including aggressive sidewall protectors, multi-step grooves, as well as staggered center blocks, which lead to better traction.
And once again, Autosport's really serving as the proving ground for automotive innovation.
That is exactly what it is. It's a place where you can do a lot of R&D and find yourself with a better product on the road and in a passenger car. And, of course, whether it's from tires or car manufacturer, whatever, that is huge. Now, here are the 4 class leaders in each of the 4 classes. And you'll notice that it is Alan McNish in the P1 category that is back in front after the latest slew of pit stops. That does not mean there's not some good racing yet to unfold in the final half hour. Back it is Alan McNish continuing to lead a current 1-2 for the Audi Diesels here at the Portland Grand Prix as we are well into our final 10 moments, and McNish having a very stout drive. But they did get a little bit of help, in a sense, because this number 20 entry, Chris Dyson behind the wheel, Calvin, made a sudden surprise call in the pits.
He did. Chris Dyson was having a great run, but he felt a tire going down, so he had to make an unscheduled pit stop, and that cost him a couple of laps there. So the 2 Audis currently run 1-2 with a healthy cushion over Chris Dyson currently running 3rd.
Boy, you can see all the junk out on the track. We're going to take you back right now and show you just how this happened.
There you can see it's already gone flat, and Chris is starting to struggle with the car there over to the side of the track. Right rear was down as he turned in. Nearly lost it, Danny. Car got loose on him.
I think part of that might be that they've had some bodywork damage back there before, and I think pieces are flapping around and just got into the tire and cut it itself.
Meanwhile, a huge story is developing in the P2 category, and that is the fact that the car that had been leading it, the number 6 DHL Global Mail Penske Porsche, also had a huge problem, and this is your new leader, the number 37 Berry Exotics Rehearsals.com Intersport Lola of Clint Field and Liz Halliday in the lead in P2.
Once again, an independent team. There's a number 6 car. smoking. They said they had an engine problem. We heard it from the driver. Came over, said engine is off.
A lot of smoke from that right exhaust bank, and it's from the internals, obviously, and the car just stopped. They looked at it, Calvin, and nothing they could do, apparently.
Day is over. Lucas Luhr is not going to celebrate his birthday in style, so this is Roger Penske's not
now,
his first rodeo here, and we had some interesting rodeo.
Push it up past the line so we get credit for the lap.
Never stops thinking, does he, Danny?
No, he's always working. One more lap, wants it in the record book. He's always got that brain going 1,000,000 miles an hour.
He does.
An amazing tactician now, as we're watching Liz Halliday bringing this car around for the final few moments. Under 5 minutes remaining. As you can see, about 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this race. Halliday is going to bring this one home, and as such stretch the point margin over Maassen and Luhr, the drivers of that number 6 Porsche at this stage. So Liz bringing this one home. This is going to be very special indeed, and if she does it, it's going to break the record. She's held with Milka Duno for wins in the American Le Mans Series by a female driver. So this is going to be a very special day indeed.
Their third victory in class this year, and his second at Sebring. Great run there earlier in the year, round 1 at Sebring, the 12-hour.
Here's a look at the number 4. This is the car leading in GT1. Now, remember the controversy we talked about a bit earlier. Brian Till, what are the Corvettes saying about this?
Well, Greg, we'll find out. Doug Feehan is the project manager here at Corvette. Doug, earlier we heard from George Howard Chappell really upset about the pit stop that he saw and saying 2 men helping with the driver change. But you have a completely different view on that. Give us your opinion.
Well, actually, I've read the rules. And if you do that, it's pretty clear that the individual you designate as a driver's helper is limited to only helping with the driver. He can perform no other function on the car. However, the 4 mechanics that are allowed over the wall are allowed to do anything on that car, and that includes helping the driver get in. So it's unfortunate George is upset, but perhaps I'll head down there and have an account of the rules, and that could help out.
Well, it's all about reading between the lines and splitting hairs, and if anybody knows how to split hairs, it's Doug Feehan. Greg?
And a quick study on their rule book. You can be sure on that without question. And the number 4 Corvette continues to make its way toward yet another victory. Keep in mind, it was right here in Portland when they started their tremendous record 8 straight streak. Now we're going to go back and show you what's unfolding and has unfolded in the GT2 category. It has been a battle for this car, the number 62 Ferrari, who was so quick, had problems early, has fought back, and finally Calvin was able to make the pass on the number 31 Porsche of Patrick Long, and it looked like it was all about grip and power.
It was. Mika Salo had recently made a pit stop, got fresh tires. Patrick's running on well-worn rubber right now and just trying to get the power down off of turn 3. Ferrari heads to the front.
Just a great pass. We're under now. A minute and 30 to go. McNish leads overall. And in P1, Halliday and Field lead in P2. And for Clint Field, if he wins here, it's his 3rd straight win in P2 at Portland. He loves this place like the Dyson boys have.
He does, and that'll be his 15th win in this category. He's already the record holder here. So they put a fresh engine in that 37 machine. That really sparked that car into life this weekend. They're very close to the Porsches all weekend long. And they just keep finishing races, and the number 6 car is going to fall further behind in the points. They should finish up 5 points behind now.
And I think that's very important. A smart strategy. Stay out of trouble. There's the 9 car. All the problems they had earlier with the contact with Lucas Luhr earlier, damage, flat, everything that went on, they're back up to 6th overall.
Andy Wallace behind the wheel. He's a star around this place. He sat on the pole the last 2 years before making the move to the Highcroft team. And obviously big news there with Acura announcement. Maybe Andy will be on board for next year.
And a good drive once again by the number 12. This is the Jean Richard car, the car that actually sat on the pole here last year. And it's Brian Willman behind the wheel right now, 8th overall, 6th in class. And they have stayed right with it and stayed competitive from the get-go.
Doing a great job. They've got 3 drivers who they're rotating. Chris McMurray, Mike Lewis, and Brian Willman. So 2 of those guys are running the sprint races, the 2-hour, 45-minute races, and then all 3 of them do the longer races, Sebring and Petit Le Mans at the end of the season.
And out of the final turn on this track, and the checkered flag flies. Alan McNish gets the win. He won here with Dindo Capello in the year 2000 on his way to a championship. Another win in P1 and overall for this pairing. They may well be on their way to a championship once again, and a classic drive by Capello McNish.
5th win of the year for McNish and Capello, and they really look strong. Got great defense also right behind them. Frank Bieler and Manuel Pirro did their job today in 2nd.
There's the number 4. Did in fact get the win. Has already come under the checkered flag, and for Olivier Beretta extends his record wins. And also, this is his 4th win here at Portland. He got a couple in the Vipers quite a few years ago, and here's the story. In P2, what a story for Liz Halliday and Clint Field. And the number 62 Ferrari, fast problems, came through the field a couple of times, had to make great passes for the lead, and they won it. Here are your 4 class winners, and we will be right back.
American Le Mans, the Portland Grand Prix, is sponsored by the all-new Mazda CX-7, the SUV you never saw coming. Kumho Tires, race-proven performance. PokerStars.net, take the driver's seat. And by Sunoco, fueling drivers with a passion for cars. Sunoco, the official gasoline of the American Le Mans Series.
The second half of the American Le Mans season is now underway here at the Portland Grand Prix. Here are the results in the P1 category. The top 4 were the top 4 overall. Let's get down to Brian Till once again with Dindo Capello and Alan McNish.
Dindo Capello, Alan McNish celebrating yet another victory, 5 in 6 races. Alan, you brought it to the checkered flag. It looked almost easy in the latter goings, but I don't think it probably was, mate. Tell us about the drive.
No, I don't think it was easy at all. From our point of view, well, at the beginning, Dindo got a hit at turn 1, and that definitely affected the car and the tyres on his run. But my tyres lasted a little bit better in the cooler conditions, and I was able to get in front of Frankie and pull away. But, you know, we take any victory we can, whichever way it comes.
Congratulations on your return to victory lane.
Right here, come on, hands up. Let's take a look at the class points in the P1 category with the problems for Leitzinger and Weaver. McNish and Capello balloon it out just a little bit more, up now by 39 points over that duo in the P1 category after 6 of 10 rounds. Now, in the GT1 category, here are the results, and Beretta and Gavin put together another great win, defending their win here from last year. Let's get down to Heather, who's with Olivier Beretta.
Olivier Beretta, after 3 first-place finishes, you then went back-to-back 4th-place finishes, now back on the podium with the 1st place. What adjustments did you guys make to get back to 1st?
Well, nothing. You know, the Corvette racing never give up. I have a fantastic teammate. We work very well. The engineer, Michelin, did a fantastic job. Also, with the big penalty that we have, which is the Aston is very fast on the straight line, but the team is an unbelievable team. I mean, they never give up, you know. They never give up. That's why the Corvette is so strong, and I just want to thank everyone at CompuWare and everyone at GM for the great car that they give us. Thanks, guys.
And certainly a special pace for Olivier. He's won 4 races here at Portland now.
And obviously, Mr. Feehan loving this moment.
Absolutely. It's a big battle with the Aston Martin squad and the Corvettes, and we see it in the points as well.
Yep, Gavin and Beretta now 12 points up over Turner and Enga in the 007 Aston Martin. And still, O'Connell and Vettel not that far back should any problems befall those teams up front at this stage of the race. Now, in the P2 category, an historic record-setting day. Here are the results. Let's get right back down to Brian Till with our winner.
Victory for our Cub reporter. 3 wins on the season, Liz. You break the record for wins for a female driver, and you extend that points lead. Which one of those is most important right now?
Got all of it. To be honest, I cannot believe this. I'm so excited, and you know, like I've said so many times, this goes to Intersport because they've built such a great car. AER, Lola, everybody. I mean, and to have Clint as a co-driver, we just kept this car so clean, right? You know, after the little incident at the start, and I think that's really paid off today. Just keep it steady, going round and round, and here we are.
Congratulations. Enjoy the victory.
Thanks so much.
They defeat the might of Penske and Porsche once again. Let's take a look at the points now, and that margin that was down to 1 is now up to 5. It's still awfully close, but nonetheless, they've got to be absolutely ecstatic. And, of course, Liz Halliday off to a couple of horse trials in England before the next round of the championship. In GT2, here are the top 5 finishers, and a great day for the Ferrari. Let's get back down to Heather, who is with our winning duo.
First back-to-back win of the season in the GT2 class done by the Ferrari in the number 62 car. And how did you guys do it after early contact and extra pit stop, but a great late race battle with Patrick Long? How did you overcome the 31 car?
Well, yeah,
it's second time already we have to come from the back, and we won. But it's consistency. The car is so good on tires, and the Michelin tires were unbelievable. So very consistent from start to finish, same grip, and just have to focus catching them up, and we did.
And Jamie Mello able to get the checkered flag despite a little off-road excursion. How did you keep your focus after that incident?
Yeah, you know, so it's our job. I just try to keep concentrate, and the car was really good, and that's it. Thank you for this week, and I would like to say thank you for the team, and Michelin Tires working really, really well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mick, as well. Thanks.
Congratulations on the win.
Now let's take a look at the current points in the GT2 category, and Johannes van Overbeek, who, again, with Wolf Hensler, put together a great storming drive from the back of the pack. He and Wolf top the championship, but look at Melo closing in, now by Bergmeister, Long, and Brabham. Danny Sullivan, your thoughts on this race? Certainly had its ups and downs.
It had its ups and downs. The biggest thing, if you keep it clean, stay out of trouble, you're going to have a good result, and it shows on the leaderboard.
And obviously, conditions changing, Calvin. Things changed in the race itself.
Very exciting race, and the festival curves once again provided us plenty of drama today.
And we want to remind you the next race of the American Le Mans Series will be unfolding at Road America. It's the Generac 500 at Road America, airing August 20th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Speed. So the way this championship is unfolding, do not miss that coverage or any of the races wrapping up for the season. Now, next on CBS, the world's most grueling event rolls into Paris. Who will replace Lance as the king of the Tour de France? Next on CBS Sports Spectacular, find out if Floyd Landis can cap a miraculous comeback and give America its 8th win in this amazing race, the Tour de France. Speaking of amazing races, the Portland Grand Prix has concluded. It was a stunner in many, many ways, and it certainly was entertaining. I think we are in for a great championship battle through the rest of the season. Hopefully, we'll be able to get away from some of this heat. It would be very nice to have some nice, cool temperatures to go really let these teams show their stuff. For all of us at CBS Sports, thank you so much for joining us. It has been, as we said, a great day. We appreciate your making us a part of your day and the coverage here at Portland International Raceway. Take care, everybody.